This is JJ Casas, and just want to start a new segment called From the Archives. I actually in the middle of moving some stuff from a storage unit and came across a sample album that I was using probably from high school until beginning of college. So this is going to be quite fun. So what we got here is a Renaissance album. Pretty much this was my pride and joy when doing event photography in high school and try to make money, by showing some potential clients of the types of albums that I can provide them. So this comes in the pretty sturdy box. Looks like there's some marking now that I gotta remove. I don't know what that is. So take this thing out, and this is like a massive heavy album. You can even see that this is my old business card. Took pride in that, and let me even take it out of from here. It had my whole Gmail address, my old address. I actually created this own font. And in the back it says, "Chances are you're holding this because I gave it to you. Chances are you're interested in my work. Chances are I want you to be interested. Chances are I'll hear from you, or later, or never, but never leave it to chance if we are to work together in the future. Contact me." So whether you think this is cheesy or not, this was one of my first business cards. Let me put this down real quick because this is a massive album. It's going to require two hands here. Do you see that? Here's our album that I'm going to remove. So this thing here is quite the beauty. Before there were flush mount pages, you had to actually buy pages and insert the mats that go into this. So here we go. See, all the pages here are pretty much thick. This is actually a really nice album. It's gilded corners. I don't think it in focus right here. It's all black. You have options to change these corners. So when I say mats, you would actually have to remove this. I don't know if you can see that. You would slide this thing up, and you would place the photo here. Use some, acid-free tape to secure the photo onto the mat, and then you would insert the mat into this album. So this is actually one of my first clients. It was Christian Michelle for their engagement session. You can tell that I have some mistakes already. I think I did my best though. I felt like the client did like it, but I think the best thing now is that I did get better. One of my favorite shots, but the lighting could have been better. Of course, you have the heart of Christian and Michelle from Sand, them doing it. Of course, I had to shoot up her nose. But this was a sample album that I would show. You can see here, the album itself had pre-cuts for 4x6, black and white photo. And I think this is from, when I say high school, so this has to be around like 2003 at least. So another 4x6 layout here. I thought to be one of my favorite photos, despite the busy background. You can see that I tried to blur it out in post. Michelle here walking with her parents. Did the fake tilt shift. My black and white collage right here of the ceremony. Of course, I had to make the ring in color. If you can see that, everything else is black and white, which nowadays you typically won't see anymore unless you really need to Photoshop and are trying to experiment. Another lovely and busy collage that I put together. You can see that lovely car in the background. The first kiss. The little walk, away from the beach after the ceremony was done. And this one, I definitely think is one of the better photos that I took from their wedding day. I like this. They liked it. No, nothing wrong with that one. Another collage that I did, one of my favorites actually, using a purple overtone. She's looking, he's looking, and of course the groomsmen and bridesmaid. And I was a big user of flash even though when I was still starting, so I would have an assistant with a light on a stick, And this is definitely one of my favorite shots. If you can tell, the light fall off from the flash itself used on a stick. Party shots. And another example of using that stick. So fake the little, bling from her ring, the little shine right there. But otherwise, I thought it was a solid shot. You can tell it's them. The light was placed directly behind them. And then in post, I was able to blacken everything out. So I thought this was one of my best shots I took from their wedding. But you can tell, as you see, pretty much I had a formula. I had a main image here that was flagged by smaller images. This was for a quinceañera. Some zoom effects that I did with my lens. Some sepia treatment that was done. My it reminds me of from Awkward Family Photos, where you have the close-up photo that's in a vignette of the larger one. Of course, I had to put her in the middle of flowers of her bouquet. Had some fun, and quite honestly, the way that I approach an event, the weddings that I do with motion scope weddings hasn't changed. I definitely had fun. I made sure that people here had fun. A portrait that I did at Legion of Honor, San Francisco. Was able to do that with her group. Once again, my formula, flagging the main image here with a few photos of details. Not the best portrait, I think, but made do with the gazebo. And then here is a cotillion that I did. Man, this is bringing me back. I just haven't seen this since I put it in the storage. But yeah, this layout of this album is just such a big thing, and nowadays, of course, you're looking for the flush mount albums. I'm just gonna skip forward here because this is actually one of the longer ones that I included here in my so-called portfolio book. And yeah, man, general bad use of flash here, but you can see that we all start from somewhere. And this was my album that I used for several years when showing clients. Definitely a handsome album. I'm not gonna say anything bad about it, but from Renaissance album. They still make these, by the way, if you're interested. But yeah, this was my work. This was my pride and joy when I was trying to fish for clients and have them trust me that I can definitely do their wedding and do their event. Cool. All right. I hope you enjoy the first ever From the Archives blog post from the series, I guess, that I'm going to be making. I just made that on top of my head. As mentioned, I was going through the storage unit and I came across my sample album, and this was back from 2003, 2000, or at least 2004, I would say. And I hope you enjoy that. I think it's important for even me to see how I started, and of course how I've improved upon that. And this album, as I mentioned, was my pride and joy. I would show this to clients during meetings, and it was really helpful. You were able to give your potential client a chance to see and feel what the album that they too can get. And I was able to use it, and it was definitely a big investment back in high school. The album, I think when they still sell it today, it's at least $350 to $500, depending on the types of mats you're using, the printing, of course, from the lab. And nowadays, flush mount albums are pretty much standard, but back then I had to buy prints, buy mats in quantities of 25, which I had never used, and then of course inserting in pages that you get to customize, like the corners and the gilding on the sides and the colors of it. So I hope you enjoy that. I think it's kind of cool to see what was cool back then and what I was doing in 2003, 2004. And yeah, who knows? I still have all these files. I've done a really good job in saving them. So maybe for part of this series, I could revisit a photo that I thought I edited really well back in 2004 and see what I would do differently now. And maybe that'd be a good post. Thanks, guys.